Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us again on the Empowered Mama Summit. We have Breegan Jane here today, and she is an interior designer and the co-founder of Mom Life Yo radio show. So, Breegan, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. If you wouldn't mind sharing with the moms that are tuning in, tell them a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Right. So I am an entrepreneur, and the first big day job is interior design, which is nice because I'm able to do my own projects and then also have some client work, and it's a true passion of mine. So I'm very grateful to do what I love. And then I birthed a radio show with my co-host T. Lopez, and it really came out of a genuine place of being a mom and a business mom and wanting to connect with other mothers. And radio was something that we saw as an opportunity because most moms can't sit down and read things or watch things. So we really just wanted to be able to enter people's homes and be a voice of support, especially at those beginning times. And so we touch a lot of different topics. And I keep a blog and all those fun things. So yeah, that's me.
If you haven't listened to the radio show, you need to, because it's like, oh great, I'm not like the only mom that's like losing my mind, and that you guys cover so many topics.
I'm glad you feel that way.
That moms can relate to, and I'm like, yes, I'm not alone.
Right. We try to keep it as honest as we can, and sometimes it's uncomfortable to say like, oh my gosh, what day is it even? Or, the hard sleep regression topics, or like, how do you get romantic again? You're a mom. I mean, because these are the things I think that I didn't feel I had, a lot of support around. People were scared to talk about it. And then the second that you said it, everyone else was like, oh, me too. And so that's been our experience with it.
Totally. And I think you recently did a blog post on co-sleeping.
Yes, I did.
I have my 2-year-old that is still in bed with me, and I'm like, there's part of me that wants to keep her there and snuggle her, and now I'm like, get out at the same time.
Yes, my experience I really enjoyed because we did it the first year, and then they got out. So I got my bed back. I still bring my little one probably into my bed once every 2 weeks, and it's a special thing, and I enjoy it. But whatever works for you is really the message I think that I wanted to put out there.
Yeah, and you did. So I was like, oh, I don't feel so bad, but I do think it's time for her to get her own bed.
Right.
But awesome. Thank you so much again for being here. So as you know, this is the Empowered Mama Summit. We're talking about reclaiming your power, living a purpose-filled life, and creating your legacy. The kind of overarching theme is legacy. So if you don't mind telling us, what does legacy mean to you?
Well, there's a lot of legacy in having children, I think. That for me was a big part of my growth as a human. I knew I wanted to be a mom. I've known it since I was a child. So that was a legacy that I was drawn towards. I think that's not always women's legacy, and they may have dreams of creating something else or a brand, or, I live in Hollywood, being an actress. There's lots of different ways you can leave your mark. And I think that's what it is. It's leaving your mark and setting up something that's going to survive longer than the time we're given on earth. So whatever that is for people, it's that thing that will stay when we eventually pass.
Yeah.
Right?
I love that. And it's funny that so I had kind of the complete opposite. Like, I didn't want to be a mom. I didn't plan on being a mom ever. And then I turned 30 and I was like, what is my life's purpose? What am I doing?
Right.
And months later, I was pregnant. So I was like, oh, okay. So this is happening.
Right.
I love that you say, it's like a brand, or, it could be children, or, it doesn't have to
be anything. I have a good friend who, you have those best friends where you have those morbid conversations of, if I go, please do this for me. And hers is wanting to give back to junior lifeguards, and because she feels such a connection to the ocean. And I think it's setting up something that, is meaningful and empowered, and you give that information to the few people you love, and they will be able to do something on your behalf. I've also set up education funds for family members who have passed, and those are nice because it's a loan, and then it passes down from student to student to student. So it's a great way for someone to live on, and you can call the scholarship by somebody's name. There's lots of things you can do to leave your legacy, but I think we're all wanting to leave our mark on the world that goes past lifespan.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are great ideas, actually. And and I have these morbid conversations, right, with my legal clients where I'm like,
right.
Well, what do you want to happen to your organs, or, who do you want to take care of your kids? So I get that. And I laugh about it because I'm so comfortable with it. But I do have those like morbid conversations. And every time I leave for a trip, I tell my assistant, remember, this is where my estate plan, and she like freaks out. And I'm like, you should be used to this by now.
Oh yeah. Every time I get on a plane, it's like, wait, let me remind everybody what I want to happen. Yeah. And I have two grandparents, two sets of grandparents still with me. And both my grandfathers are at that last stage in their lives. And it's forced my family to just look at those things from a different, real perspective, where it's not a choice to be thinking about it. It's right there in front of me. Yeah. And I said to my father the other day, regarding him visiting his father, and I said, isn't it just so sad we all have to die? Like, and it's true. We all have to. It's not something I think anyone's figured out how to escape yet. Right. So legacy is very important.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we don't have a choice in that, in that sense. Yeah. But I love that. And so going back to kind of your day job where you have your interior design business, and you love it. And why would you say that, living your purpose or finding that passion and that thing that lights you up, like, why is that important? And do you have any tips for moms who are trying to figure out how to get there?
Yes, I do. And that, one of the questions I get all the time is sort of, how did you pick interior design? What is it that, people seem to think I always knew what I wanted to do because I'm very pointed right now in several, specific directions. That was not always the case. And it was somebody else's advice to me when I was feeling almost frozen in making a decision about what I wanted to do with my whole life. And his advice was, start checking things off. If you don't know what you want to do, start with something you think you might want to do. And if you get into it and you decide that's not what you want to do, check it off and go to the next one. And the process of elimination in my mind freed me up to explore my own creativity. I've always known I was a creative person. I've always known I'm business minded. Interior design, matches those two for me. But it could have been painting. It could have been Etsy blankets. I needed a creative outlet, and I drew from that one thing and tried a bunch of different things.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I don't know if I told you this, but when I was in law school, I tried dropping out twice. The first time I was going to go into marketing. The second time I was going to go into interior design because I was like, I need a creative outlet. Law and these like words, the legalese is not doing it for me. But I love that tip to kind of check things off. And if it doesn't work, oh, well, move on to the next. Like,
I, for a long time, thought I would do web design. I've had a clothing store. I did a fashion line. And the more you check them off, you start to realize what parts you enjoyed about each of them. And I also find ways to, I like having a passion project and a project that brings more of an income. I think sometimes we don't always have the option. We need a day job, so to speak, or you have a skill set, but it's not what drives you. Pick up a camera, do photography on the side, start a charity, commit 3 hours of a new hobby. And sometimes that's scary too, but it's sort of the same thing applies. You don't know what your hobby is, try running, try spinning. But I think when you're empowered, it just comes out in life as you're teaching everyone.
Yeah. And I think that's such a great point about, if you are kind of in your day job and you need that income and people are like, oh, well, it doesn't like excite me, but you pay the bills, well, keep doing that but you can have your little side hustle or your side gig or your hobby that you can eventually turn into a business. It doesn't have to be this like all or nothing kind of a deal. Like I think
No, and I would say those people are almost fortunate to know they're gonna, get a check, and so there's less pressure on your side hustle, your side love, your side job, and you can really explore and set apart a little piece of your budget to, start to explore that.
and you can stay it can stay fun and playful, right?
Yeah.
Where get to still have a good time. And you're right, that pressure to use that to create an income is not there. I mean,
Yeah.
it will be there once, after a while, but there's not that pressure. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what would you say was really like your turning point in was it just kind of going through that checklist and, figuring out that interior design worked for you, or was there a different turning point for you?
I think a recent, very large turning point for me was obviously becoming a mother. I think that demands us to sort of go through this caterpillar to butterfly type process. And I think it makes most of us, but we feel like we're breaking. And whether you are into the career you love doing, it's just this side swipe of, you relook at everything from the ground up and what you're doing and why you're doing it. And your time is way more limited. So you really have to commit to the things that you are passionate about. So I think for me, that was a big one. That's where the radio show came from. I started blogging more, and I wanted to have a purpose to how I spent my time, because my time was very limited now. And so that was one thing. The interior design thing came out of growing, it was little by little and different things. And I grew and I learned along the way, and it sort of was this trek that evolved. So that was much more of a slow growth into more of a life's purpose, but it didn't happen overnight. It sort of just grew. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, guess I'm an interior designer with clients. I guess I'm redoing homes. I guess I'm flipping. That's happening. Yeah. So yeah, that was cool.
Awesome. And I think that's a great reminder to the moms that they don't have to have it all figured out right away, right? It's a process, it's a journey, and go at your own pace. I think it's super important. And I know you kind of touched on this about, kind of finding your purpose and the passions and what you love and how that's empowering. What would you say empowered means to you? Or being
I think empowered is that little fire inside. And sometimes it feels like it goes out when your kids wake up at 5:30 in the morning and you are not feeling empowered.
Like mine has been doing for the past week.
Right. I mean, but every once in a while, something will light that little fire, or you get really excited, or you're nerding out over a conversation with a friend and you can just feel that little light inside. And I think everybody's light is different, but it's there, and it's what makes us unique. And I love it when I'm talking to friends and they get excited. Like I have a friend who's working for an organization that's helping reform LA school systems. And she just kind of went off onto a tangent and she's like, sorry, I'm such a nerd. And I was like, you're not a nerd. You love what you do. And that makes me so happy. She's been with the company a year. Her kids are a little bit older, and she was trying to figure out where that fire was for her. And when I just see her face light up and she's like, oh yeah, it's a nerdy whole, I'm like, no, that's you. That's being empowered.
Yeah. I love, that's true, because like I say, I talk about, estate planning and death, and it's a morbid conversation. And I get excited when I'm telling people, you can do all of these things and your family's going to be protected. And they're like, this is not something we want to talk about. And I was like, but it's really cool. I can help you out. And then seeing my friends get excited about what, they love, that makes me happy for them, right? That they're living in their power and they're living this life that they love and working towards that legacy that they want to create for their kids.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that society does that's not really so positive right now is everybody's comparing themselves. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a, very real conversation with social media right now. That's a very real conversation with photoshopped magazine covers. Yeah. And I think when you stop listening to that voice and comparing yourself to someone else and you see what lights you up inside, just keep listening to that voice. Stop looking over here. None of that is empowering to look at someone else and think, I'm less than, or I need to be.
Yeah.
Being empowered and moving comes from that heart space.
Yeah. And I'm sure you probably, I mean, and I'm sure there's like an episode or something on Mom Life, that you kind of discuss this idea of like moms judging moms, right? Like, oh, I'm not the Pinterest mom, or, I'm the Amazon Prime kind of mom. And
oh yeah,
releasing that judgment around what it means to be a good enough mom. And
it's so real. It's so real. And I mean, even with a radio show, even with the blog, even trying to empower people, I had someone go off the other day. Oh, you're not real. I am real. I am here. I am building brands. I have a radio show. I choose to curate my Instagram page. It doesn't make me any less of a person. And I don't see social media as my real life. It's glimpses of moments I choose to share. And I personally choose to share the happy ones. I have friends who share just the funny moments. It's like an Instagram dedicated to a child crying over ridiculous things. And it's hilarious. Yeah. But it's not better or worse. And the judgment has to stop. The meme mom groups have to stop. I was at an event the other day, my toddler had to go to the bathroom right then. And it's like, well, does he go in his pants, or do I let my boy just pull down his pants? And I saw mom see me. I've got the other one on a hip, and it was just those eyes. And I'm like, obviously, I don't want my child to pee on the floor. This is not something we normally do. But as mothers, I think I'm trying to advocate more for the mom who comes and like hides the kid and is like, how can I help you? Or let me take your baby. The second we do that, we become powerful as a group of women. And so that's been amazing too, to just change that dial a little bit, support other moms. They support you right back. And when you can be real, I really think women rule the world.
I think, and it's, there's this hashtag that kind of is going around. It's like empowered women, empower women, right? So it's like if we stand in our own power, our own confidence as a mom, as a woman, then we can then help uplift and support the women that are around us, because we are all facing the same judgment. We're all facing, like nobody is perfect. So stop pretending like you are.
Right.
What you see on social media is everyone's highlight reel, what they want to highlight, right? Whether it's good moments, whether it's, some people put everything on there, which is, their prerogative too. Right. And it's, there's judgment around that. Like, oh, it's not a diary. Like, you don't put all that stuff on social media, but maybe they're open enough to do it. Or, the funny moments only, like, and that doesn't make you any less real of a person, more perfect of, a person, etc. And then the comparison. Stop comparing yourself to everyone else's highlight reel, whatever they're highlighting.
And I think it all goes back to listening to that inner voice that's empowered. If you stop judging other people, you start working on yourself and what it is you want to do, and then you feel more confident. When someone does attack me now, I have the confidence to go, no, you know what? I've done a lot of self-reflection on this, and I feel good about this. So we've got to stop looking at everyone else, look at ourselves, and put out there what we feel we want to contribute to the world, and give women the opportunity to do that as well.
And I think that point of self-reflection is important too, right? So if somebody is triggered by your beautiful posts on Instagram, all the amazing things that you're doing, your gorgeous sons, like if somebody is triggered by that, they need to then do their self-reflection. So if somebody, if any of you are out there are triggered by someone else, you need to reflect on, why is that triggering me? Where am I not settled, internally, and focus in on maybe adjusting, turning your dial a little bit.
And I also think it's a conversation. And what was beautiful about that moment is I took a moment to respond to this woman and say, I'm sorry. It seems like you're having a bad day. This is what I choose to do. I'm not judging you. I see very similar posts. I see your kids kissing you on the cheek. I see happy, beautiful, adorable kids. I'm a single divorced mom with my own business, and it really changed the conversation. She went, oh, I think she was just having a bad day. And I said, it's that out of a negative catty start became a conversation of, how can I support you? How can we support each other? Yeah. And her response was very surprised. I don't think she had encountered that a lot. She'd encountered people blocking her or saying, you don't know anything and look at you. And I think sometimes it takes being the bigger person, because I felt vulnerable in that moment. And I think when we react out of vulnerability, sometimes it looks mean. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. Right? Yeah. And I choose to lean into that vulnerability and go, that actually really hurt my feelings. And I'm a human, and it sounds like you're having a bad day. Thanks for your feedback.
And in, and I think, stepping into, our own vulnerability, right? And whether it's on social media, blog posts, or just in interactions, networking groups, or people that, friends that we've had.
Saying hi for the first time. That's a big thing at the park,
Yeah.
A small thing, but it takes a lot to be the first person to walk up to another mom and say hi. Yeah. 9 times out of 10, it goes well.
So I have one of my coaching clients, and one thing that, we joke about it, but she's like, I want new mom friends. Like, I just want new mom friends. And I don't know how to make new mom friends because, I see this woman at the park all the time with her kids, and I want to go say hi, but I'm kind of nervous because what if I get rejected? Like, and I'm just like, what, build up, take the first step. If you don't ask, or you don't, introduce yourself, you'll never know what's going to happen. So take that leap, right? Own who you are as a woman and just kind of go with it.
Yeah. And I always go, what's the worst case scenario? She rejects you, and then you'd go, okay, don't want to be your friend anyways. And this applies to non-moms. My youngest brother is in college, and he's similar, like meeting new people on campus, making new friends. And he was like, I'm having trouble. And I'm like, just walk up and say hi. Just say hi. Just do it. I'm telling you, they are just as nervous as you are. If you walk up and say hi, you're going to know right away in 30 seconds. If they're rude, not your problem. That's their problem. That's a reflection of them.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. In terms of kind of, being vulnerable, stepping in and owning who you are as a woman, as a mom, whatever that means, why would you say that that's important when it comes to creating your legacy?
Because I think legacy is almost a version of you, right? Like when you leave your legacy, you are leaving something about yourself. And I think our true self is in our vulnerability and who we really are. And if we can't be vulnerable to those spaces, it's going to be much harder to figure out where that true heart and spirit are.
Yeah. I love that. It's true, right? Our legacy is essentially, yes, a
piece of us.
Whether it's, one part of us that we choose to kind of highlight, or if it's all the different parts of us that we, decide to kind of leave as a whole. I think that is awesome. So if you had one piece of advice for the moms who are tuning in, who are maybe looking for meaning or purpose in their life, what would you say that, or the one thing that you want them to take away from your interview here, what would that be?
I just think, it's a hard question. I really want to empower women. I know this is an empowerment summit, but that's what the radio show is about. And sometimes empowering women means that you have to look inward and be vulnerable and start that when you're in a group of women that don't feel empowering. And you need to be brave enough to change that. And you have to be brave enough to be vulnerable to change that. And I encourage you to be the first one to say hi at the park. I encourage you to say, that was rude. I think the phrase, that hurt my feelings is an incredibly powerful phrase. I have a very good friend who uses, one of the things she says all the time is, how can I help? And it's a part of her, you know, it's whether I'm like stressed out or I've got this, she'll just look at you and go, how can I help? And it's so genuine, and it just, you know, anything that is happening, or I'm stressed and I've got the 5 bags, and she just goes, how can I help? I go, oh, I don't need help. I got this. Or I go, oh, you know what? Can you just grab these 2 things and put them there? And it's great. How can I help? And, you know, is a great phrase to start with.
Yeah, I love that. And then even, you know, if as being on the receiving end, right? Or being the person that's like, you know what, I don't have it all together and I need some help. Being able to, you know, I think that's great. And
I think the world gives back to you. The more you ask women, 9 times out of 10, that woman's going to come back and say, how can I help you? Yeah. So sometimes in order to get more support, we have to give it. I think that's how the world works. Yeah. I think it comes back.
Yeah. Well, Breegan, thank you so much. If they want to tune in to Mom Life Yo, where can they find you? What's your, you know?
Yeah. So all my handles are at Breegan Jane, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can find me at Breegan Jane. And then momlifeyo.com has all of our episodes that you can listen to. We have a free app with all our episodes as well. You can find that in the iTunes store with Mom Life Yo. And yeah.
And you'll also have a link to the app, so you can just download it directly from the email with this video.
Listen to me. Don't judge me. I'm being vulnerable and honest to empower all the women.
Laugh. They're hilarious as well. Like, it is an awesome show. You guys won't regret with tuning in. And if it's, you know, you're listening to it while you're in the car, while you're cleaning the house, doing laundry, like, it'll make time go by really fast because it's like sitting down and listening to girlfriends talk. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Breegan, again for being here. Thanks to all of you for tuning in, and we will see you in the next round. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.